Hi, this is Naroki5. I am going to be doing this until I die or I find something better to do. So please help me achieve this personal and, I think, noble objective by contributing to my Patreon or Subscribe Star. Link is down below. Every little bit helps. Thank you very much.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Red Pill Nation Hangout, number 305. I am your host, Naroki5. With me tonight is the usual odd assortment of characters, starting with the person who's been with me from this show from the very beginning. Rearson, introduce yourself.
If I must. Well, the audience, with and without the simulcasting, heard me introduce myself enough already, so I'm just going to leave it at that. Next.
All right. Also with us tonight is Henrik Thorstenson. Henrik, introduce yourself.
Oh, hey, what do you know? The button actually worked this time. I'm not completely stupid when it comes to technology. Oh, I'm just a usual resident guy from the south side of Chicago, and I'm looking forward to Friday being Testicle Tuesday, because, baby, I'm telling you, the amount of block discharges is going up just like the temperature in July. I got a testicle pool going. Anyone want one?
And of course, with whom we are simulcasting. So bleep, 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 bleeping, introduce yourself.
Rocky Mountain Oysters. Yes. I am the Red Pill Hardcore Radio Show, which we are simulcasting on right now on RPN. And yes, we are sponsored by TLBTalk.com. That's right, TLBTalk.com, Free Speech Social Network. And I will definitely go last because I want to hear you guys talk, give you guys a chance to talk more. So I'll go in front of Rearson on these subjects. So go ahead, guys.
Okay, I just sent a message to Rearson about the end of the show. Site news. I have once again my my new YouTube channel with the one with 8 whole subs got shut down, got taken down. Dedicated it's very clear that it was probably somebody over in Europe too. Seriously, Deb does not want me to go anywhere. I posted up that video at YouTube where I was speaking directly to him, told him quite specifically that, he's not actually succeeding in shutting me up. For instance, I've gotten more subs on Rumble in the last month than I had on my entire YouTube count. Grew by about 10 to 15% in the last 6 weeks. So it's like sending him a message telling him that he's not shutting me up and that I can just simply permanently go over to YouTube, Odyssey, and Rumble and still continue to do quite well is obviously not the message this guy wanted to hear, or it went right over his head. And I'm going to have to assume it was a he, because this person still shut me down. Because a person with 8 whole subs is obviously and clearly a dangerous threat to society that needs to be shut up as quickly as humanly possible. Anyway, that's all the attention I'm going to give this guy. I do have a YouTube. Did immediately, because I have multiple backup YouTube channels. I did immediately restart up another YouTube channel. That channel, though, is going to be strictly for friends and strictly for ease of posting up content at other YouTube channels. The only video that's going to go up there is the one that's going to go up, that's going to go public, when I announced to the guy that I've gotten more subs on all of the other channels than I ever had on YouTube. That being said, where am I right now? Well, I am on YouTube, but I'm keeping everything on that channel unlisted. I am at Odyssey, Rumble, BitChute, MGTOW TV, Minds, Facebook, Gab, MeWe, TLB Talks, and Getter. For now, I might be adding some more. Oh, hey, hi, Captain. Hi, Jaffe. I'll let you introduce yourself in a second here. And yeah, that's pretty much where I am. Once I get all of my well, the employment situation appears to have worked itself out at this point. So once I figure out what I'm going to be doing with it, the other thing I'm announcing is because of the new schedule, which is 4 days on, 4 days off, that we will be definitely moving this show the date time around. We'll either be moving the time or we'll actually be moving the day of the week. And with that, though, Jaffe, introduce yourself.
Yeah, Jaffe Ryder, out of South Korea, Chief Communications Officer of the Robin Hood flagship to Pirate Radio Podcasts and the wider WPRPN.com People's Pirate Network. So, yeah, it's great to be here once again. Looking forward to this. Let's get the ball rolling.
All right. So the topics for tonight, and I think this one will hit Rearson close to home, which is why I added it. But I mean, I have something else to say, and this is no word of a lie. Dungeons, topic number 1, Dungeons and Dragons will remove mixed race characters. Yeah, I wish I was joking about that, but I'm not. Number 2, YouTube's new terms of service applies to links. That one is a very interesting one. I think some of you who have YouTube channels might want to be paying attention to this. Topic number 3, which I kind of discussed briefly yesterday on Jaffe's show, FBI officials have now marked terms like red pill, Chad, MGTOW, etc. Basically, manosphere terms. They have marked them off as extremist content. Topic number 4, Star Wars under Kathleen Kennedy is going to keep going with Star Wars. In fact, they've doubled down on it. They're bringing back they're bringing back Rey. Yeah, they're gonna like, literally sink that ship before they give it up. Like, they're just gonna give it to Kathleen Kennedy until she like literally rides it into the ground. Topic number 5, Leo DiCaprio suddenly accused of sexual harassment after testifying against Fugees Pras Michel over Hollywood election contributions. Absolutely no coincidence there. Like, it's just an absolute total non-coincidence that happened. And then topic number 6, which is the Canada content. And this one, I'm actually going to let Rearson go first. All of the board members of the Trudeau Foundation have resigned. And topic B, Federal Resources Minister is threatening to nationalize Alberta, Saskatchewan, and basically all of Western Canada's natural resources. A direct violation of the Constitution. So, with all that involved, Rearson, timestamp to the second, please. Thank you very much. Okay, so the first topic is Dungeons and Dragons. Here was the thing. I actually went to see this new movie. The new movie wasn't bad. It was woke and maybe not stitched together as good as it probably could have been. Again, right, it beats the hell out of me with all of the stories written about the Forgotten Realms, which is, by the way, is where this new Dungeons and Dragons movie is based out of, that they could not take an actual story from the Forgotten Realms and make a movie out of that. But apparently that was asking too much for them. Of course, right? Racial and gender diversification, because they have to. To nobody's surprise, the main villain in the story was a white male. The hero also happened to be a white male, but I mean, he wasn't as much of a hero as basically played by Chris Pine. He wasn't as much of a hero as the white. I mean, he was not necessarily the smartest guy, the sharpest knife in the drawer. It was an okay movie. I'd give it about a 6.5 out of 10. On the heels of that, I really don't know what the what the budget for it was or anything like that. But that's not the reason why I'm actually doing this particular topic. The reason why I'm doing this particular topic is because Wizards of the Coast, the owners of Dungeons and Dragons, who is owned by Hasbro, who is owned by a certain corporation that starts with the word black, have decided to remove all of the mixed race characters out of the game Dungeons and Dragons. Never mind the fact that Dungeons and Dragons has had mixed race characters from the beginning and have even got some major characters in their universe, particularly in the Dragonlance genre, where they Tannis Half Elven comes to mind almost immediately, but there's a lot of them, and there doesn't seem to be any particular rhyme or reason. I mean, this almost literally goes back to that whole thing about orcs in Lord of the Rings. Like, that's that level of stupidity. The difference is that, I mean, none of the Lord of the Rings series actually got rid of orcs. Mind you, they also did not have half orcs. But I mean, just absolute stupidity that has no basis in actual fact, and it's something that nobody actually really cared about, except for, of course, Wizards of the Coast. Now, you got to understand, BlackRock is a company that, has been, and we talked about this last night on Jaffe's show, is a company that was likely going to, was likely propping up the production budget for the budget and the stock value for Budweiser, because they didn't want it to go down. They didn't want it to go to make it look worse than the $7 billion stock value loss that they actually have. They want it to rebound right away. In no way does this make any sense at all. Again, right, it's like they want, I mean, keep in mind, I haven't played Dungeons and Dragons, at least not the tabletop version, for a very long time, probably because I don't have the time anymore. But I mean, the last thing I think, and Rusin used to be at my table when I DM'd Dungeons and Dragons games. I don't recall anybody anywhere getting offended because a player wanted to play a half elf. In fact, the very first player I ever played was a half elf. So this just kind of like leaves me scratching my head. I got no explanation for it. I don't think and I think most of us here have played Dungeons and Dragons at some point. I think most of us haven't really particularly cared if there were half elves or half orcs in the game. You know, I didn't want to bother with the origins or whatever. But apparently, the geniuses at Wizards of the Coast do. Keep in mind here that Wizards of the Coast also at one point banned Jeremy Hembley from Wizards of the Coast tournaments because Jeremy Hembley was reporting on pedophile judges at Magic the Gathering games. They would rather have banned him than actually deal with the problem. The only reason that Wizards of the Coast dealt with the problem is because Hasbro forced them to, because of public outrage. You know, they were saying after Gamergate that they were going to go after board games, and I mean, some of the board games have kind of caved in a little bit. Other game systems, like say Warhammer 40K, you really can't make them PC. If you tried to make, say, game systems like, say, Rifts or Warhammer 40K or even Warhammer Fantasy PC, they would lose their flavor. But with that, I'm going to turn it over to Henrik.
Okay. This actually does infuriate the absolute snot out of me, so I'm going to do my best to keep my composure and be PG with it, but I that company you were mentioning earlier, the whatchamacallit, that color company thing, and that guy that has the name that sounds like some type of weird B-rate lawyer from a serial killer film or something. It's like, oh, I've got a bone to pick with this guy so bad. Especially now that's like, hey, I'm going to throw money at this because, oh, you nerds think you can have fun with your game? And no, I own your game. I am the evil lawyer to end all evil lawyers. It's like, get out of my board game. Dear God. For years, I've been trying to actually like get a game going with a couple of people, and it's been just ungodly, just difficult. Because it's like, okay, two classes I like playing is like being a warlord. Just like played that for like one or two brief missions. I was like, oh, this thing's actually pretty dang cool. And the other thing I wanted to do, now that I found out about 6 or so months ago, but like, wait, there's muskets? Wait. So if we got muskets, that means that I can go right ahead and go get, like percussion and, the old, Civil War era firearms and all that stuff, or cowboy guns or something. I was like, ooh, I has ideas. And it's just like, nope, rip. Yeah, we're going to take that. Oh, you want to try and have fun, little nerd? Yeah. Oh, you want to mix your race with this and that and the other? Not in my board game, you evil little nerd. Yeah. I don't like that. I don't like that they're screwing around with all this stuff. This is preposterous. It's nonsense. It's just like, yeah, great. How long is it going to be, you guys think? I mean, like, I know it says, Glad B got where I was going with the oysters that I'm kind of getting a little proverbial pool for, but you guys want to take a gamble on how long it's going to be before they actually just wind up just losing like a good portion of their base, and nobody plays Dungeons and Dragons anymore, and everyone goes to like somewhere like AI Dungeon and plays their games, because it's like it's this infuriates me. It's like, let us have fun, leave us alone, don't be screwing around with all our pots and pans and disgusting. What are they going to do? They're going to have you do like the stupid thing to where it's like, oh, hey, now you have to register your gender in order to get a board game. And here, you have to make sure you have the message, the idea, and all the common, stupid, nonsensical crap that they change every week. And it's like, oh, no, you can't play this game anymore, citizen, because we've changed the rules. So now your version is racist, and it must be destroyed and confiscated. These people are nuts. Instead of having to grovel at the feet of this unholy lawyer guy that runs this evil freaking company that just has the entire GDP of like, oh God, last time I think I was looking into it, they said like GDP of like 5 countries combined, like, the entirety of North America and like 2 European countries, and it's like, you got that much money to throw around, and you just decided, I'm going to have little man syndrome and get even with everybody and make everybody weird because I am the lawyer you bullied. Because no one shall take my lunch money anymore. I shall take everyone's lunch money. It's just like, yep. Well, for anyone that's interested in a thoroughly violated version of Dungeons and Dragons, and you like doing all your controversial fun games, I'd suggest getting a couple of your buddies together. Get either on your computer or get on your cell phone, and run a game through AI Dungeons. It's going to be a little bit of tweaking and this and that you can do. You're going to have to do with it in order to get it to run the right way. But I mean, hey, at least it's not going to tell you have to be this gender or that pronoun. You can't mix your classes, your races, or anything freaking oh my. Like, ooh, what if I want to have 2 different religions here? Nope, can't do that, citizen. You can't have fun in your game. You must bow to Mao. Yeah, and now. Hate when they do all of that nonsense. It's just like, good God. Back to Gamergate again with this garbage. Back to freaking Gamergate. That's lovely. I thought I had enough of these dirtbags. Because quite literally, the only game series I can freaking play without these people deciding that they're going to try and screw with it one way or the other is the Postal series. That's the only one. It's literally the only one. I don't know what it is about like Vince and Mike J and them where it's like, yeah, those Arizonians, yeah, we're not touching them with a 1,000-foot pole. Let them do their little thing with their poop and their pee and using cats as silencers for firearms. Yeah, let them do whatever. Like, oh, gee, yay, thank you. Oh, so gracious, unholy, overlord, evil lawyer guy with more money than my own country. Thank you for leaving me one video game I can play and pee on people, just because thankfully that hasn't been taken out of anything yet. Good Lord. It's like, for the love of God, man. If they keep going with this stuff, I think it's literally going to wind up having to be something to where we're going to just not just have a balkanized economy, but like it's literally going to be something to where it's like we're literally going to have balkanized games. Like I really like if I ever get to meet Vince and the guys, I'm gonna have to like shake his hand and go, yeah, you know what, you called this ahead of time. I'm glad you made these games. I don't care what they say, because you know what, it's literally gonna be like freaking MAGA land games versus Biden land games or some crazy garbage like that. Like God, like the console wars they had that South Park made fun of. That might actually become a thing. Towards like everything is going to be political. No one can have any fun without socializing, sodomizing, salad fishing, or whatever nonsensical gobbly-commie goop they come up with next. Guess everything must be an amorphous freaking blob of doom.
Brought by Bud Light. Just saying.
Yeah, but if I don't quiet myself down now and have a smoke, I'm going to wind up going on an initial tirade, and I'm trying to not swear, and it's that's
challenging. Sorry. Henrik, are you done or?
Henrik.
Yeah, I'm done. You guys can go next. Whoever's next.
All right, Kathy, you're up.
Well, thanks for that, Henrik. I thought for a minute there maybe he'd committed harikare. Things that got so just ridiculously pathetic. Yeah. So, but one of my main questions is, no half elves, no half orcs, no mixed racing. So what about half gay or half trans? I'm willing to wager that would be green lighted. You could be half gay or half trans. I'm not sure how that would work exactly. They could get creative and figure something out. But sure. But this is their idea of progress. This is somebody's idea of progress, and that's what they call it. But I cannot refer to it as progress. I refuse to refer to it as progress. For me, it's regression. Is the best way I can presently look at things. And let's not forget homebrew too, in the sense of, you can just throw out the rule book as per how things are dictated to you from on high and just say, well, we're going to do this old school. And it makes no sense whatsoever, especially, just given the fact that, there are a lot of mixed race people in the world. Has nobody mentioned that yet? I don't know. If I was actually in the kitchen having to put a fresh pot of coffee together, so I might have missed out on a few things. But yeah, hell, the world is filled with mixed race people. So it just really, you got to wonder what the decision makers, what is going on in their minds exactly. But and that's really all I've got to say. Yeah, I was a big D&D enthusiast as a kid. Was never all that. I just enjoyed it. It was great getting together with friends and putting your imagination to some use. And never part of any satanic cult, unfortunately. But I think most remember the big satanic panic, to which I would argue
you missed the full experience if you didn't take part in that.
Oh yeah,
sarcasm font.
Yeah, I really wonder what percentage of D&D enthusiasts actually have been members of satanic cults. I'd be willing to bet probably maybe in the neighborhood of 1%, but 5% tops, 5% lower percentile for sure. So, but I don't know. That's about all. It's a great, they've got they had a great brand legacy, I suppose, with the cartoons throughout the 80s and probably even up until now. I just don't follow things as closely as I could, but with movies and everything else. So, but the satanic panic, I would argue that there was more to it than what those who try to dismiss the whole business would have us believe, to dissuade us. Anyways, that's kind of actually, where those are probably, truth be told, the people who are making these ridiculous decisions. They're the ones, from the inside pulling the strings, and the pedophiles, of course, because you're going to find that with these creeps, doing that sort of thing. What do they call it? The ritual abuse. Is it SRA? I think is how it goes. Systemic ritual abuse. Satanic
ritual.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing about that, and I actually, until of course, my content got stolen, my audio content got stolen, and I have to actually dig through it and find it out. I actually have a recording sitting on my hard drive. The woman that started the Martinsville case, the woman who made the initial accusation on the Martinsville case, she ended up losing her kid because she was judged mentally unfit to be a mother. She was really severely damaged, right? So that's
let's have some wider context to that then. Exactly, is this someone who was making false? She ended up, it was determined, had made false accusations. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, it was a daycare school.
Yeah, this is the Martinsville This is the Martinsville case.
What's
yeah.
where in America? Which state?
Yep. I believe this was California. This was
Okay.
back in the 80s.
Well, yeah, just because that's the thing. Logically speaking, you got to remember that just because one thing is proven to be bogus or false doesn't mean that there's no truth to the rest of the larger picture. I mean, Ted Gunderson is the guy for people who want to look into. He uncovered, I think, a considerable amount, and even to this day, it all ties into the human trafficking, underage, of course, children in particular, things like Project Monarch and MK Ultra and all that. Really, sort of colorful areas of, where people, I guess. It's a vicious circle, I would imagine. Basically, people can't help themselves. It's partly the way they're wired, or what have you. So, but any thoughts? I mean, it's like you're born into it in many instances, right? Just like with the intelligence community, it's a family affair, mafia, same deal.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying that because I mean that was the case that actually triggered the Great Satanic Panic back in the 80s was that particular case. And yeah, it turns out
unfortunate.
The woman who made that accusation, she ended up losing custody of her kids because she was deemed, I guess she was like really mentally unwell. And that's not something that is well known about the Martinsville case.
That's okay. And was it proven beyond the shadow of doubt then that her claims were false, that the ones who were being cast in the light of suspicion, accused of heinous acts, actually they were innocent of everything? It was all
I didn't follow it to that degree. Okay, yes, you can bring them in, V. We got I didn't follow it to that degree. It was just, I mean, that whole satanic panic thing was brought up in reference to that was brought up as kind of like a comparison to some of the stuff that was brought in for, say, some of the stuff that the left is actually making claims for now. And
that's right. Yeah, it's totally just off the rails. That's right. Absolutely. With the transgender Baphomet, I mean, that's the thing said to be quite central to the whole Freemasonic, the great work, as it were, in androgynous agenda. So transgenderism. Hey, let's not forget, it's not so much transhumanism as posthumanism. Post meaning after, not just going beyond, but after.
Yep. So does anybody else have anything more to add, or can we move this on to V?
Okay, so what we got here is something called gatekeeping. Now, the left operates solely from this tool, the social tool. It's called gatekeeping. So it makes things muddy when you can't put labels on things. You can't put labels on things. If you can't clearly define something, then you can't call it good or evil. So the whole mixed race thing, people are actually typecasted. You can typecast people into these made-up races. Okay. For example, and it's freaking hilarious. I think that's kind of why they're getting into this. For example, I got into it with this idiot on Gab, who, of course, white supremacist, and we've got this tiny group, but it's themed that black people are orcs. That's the entire theme of the group. Of this
that's the name, the title of the group.
No, I don't know the title of it. That's the theme of the group. It's just God. That black people are orcs. And so I had fun with the group. So I was like, you
were trolling them.
You guys are Nosferatu vampires.
Yeah.
Sun kills you.
Well,
So
I mean,
they
here's
like
the thing:
us.
the
Dark
orcs
elves,
actually
dark elves.
originated from the elves, right?
I'm sorry, say it again.
The orcs were originally they descended from the elves.
Tolkien's mythology, is that right? Or
Yeah.
Tolkien's world?
I believe so, yes.
So okay. So the white people would be the elves, and then the black people would be the orcs.
Oh, the drow, the drow elves, the drow elves.
The drow.
There's
Yeah.
perceived variations depending on whose mythology, whatever. But I'm telling you what's in the mainstream right now. So the goblins, right? The Jews, because they're the money people, right? And so that is the kind of ideology that they're dealing with. So if you can, you're going to break your point about any grandstanding, any point that you're trying to make. If something is half goblin, half elf, they can't follow a stereotype. So you have to separate and label in order for you to have your chess pieces on the board. So when all this wokeism is going to flood through, and they're going to be able to gatekeep. This is just what it is. And something I did when I played Warhammer 40K with the few rich friends I had. When I was a kid, something we would do. We didn't like any of the rules. If we just changed the rules a little bit. We had the codexes, and if something was just OP, overpowered, it's just okay. Let's try this again. Let's make this a little bit more realistic. Because it's not perfect. That's why they keep coming out with new additions. You have new characters. You have new lore. So that alters the gameplay. So you have new additions. I don't see, once again, it's gatekeeping. I don't see why people don't want to go outside of whatever tournament, make their own tournament. Use your own set of rules. You cannot gatekeep something that is based strictly on imagination. How are you going to try to do that? That's mind control beyond. It's not even realistic that you're going to tell somebody the rules of their fantasy world. That is preposterous. And anybody who would try to do that is an insane person and should be removed from any kind of influence that they have on anything. How are you going to tell me how I'm going to play my game? I used to. I wasn't big into Dungeons and Dragons. Shadowrun was my thing. I love
Shadowrun.
And that, it was great. The whole point of a dungeon master, that's the only control mechanism that you have in the game. Okay, you it's a game of chance and a game of imagination. Yeah, mixed races, it gives you so many more story options. You have a half orc. You can get around places where there are orcs without any issues. Or same thing with any of the mixtures, half rattling, half dwarf, whatever. It gives a unique gameplay and it expands imagination. We have an attack on imagination because everything's becoming politicized, and that needs to stop. Anybody who has any kind of sense would say, well, screw these guys. We're going to do this how we want to do it anyways. And as far as the movies and stuff are concerned, if they want to make these clear. I mean, it's they're trying to liken things to reality too much. Orcs bad, elves good. It's a clear, defined line. Now, you're not going to see any Dungeons and Dragons material where the orc is the hero. You're just not going to, because everything's been stereotyped, typecasted, and gatekeeped. So it's up to the people to have their own imaginations. It's just one of those frontiers where people can have imaginations and be unique and be individuals and be free of the political chains. But now that frontier is it's over. They've already tried to attack it, like you said, with the satanic panic, and largely due to the devilish depictions and sorcery, because sorcery is evil to Christians. They tried to shut down imagination. That's what religion is about, mind control. So people need to take these kind of things into consideration. If you read something stupid like no mixed races and something that's entirely fantasy, again, there's something to be ignored, really. It's strange that we were talking about it, but yeah, I'll go ahead and pass on to Emerson. I'm done.
Oh, God. You know your society's in decline when something like this starts to make topics for us. Holy mackerel. Okay. All right, first things first, I'm going to follow the money. So according to CNN Business, the largest stakeholder of Hasbro is, it's actually Vanguard at 10.67%. BlackRock comes in at 5.8%, and State Street comes in at 3.67%. So it's about 20% is being directed by them. I got a very simple solution for all of this. Go to an older edition of the game. It's like screw politics. And this whole thing about mixed races, that's really the only time, as an example, that what I think would be understandable for most people, is when you can actually talk about actual racism. Now, oh God, I'm just gobsmacked by this whole thing to begin with, to be quite honest. It's ridiculous beyond belief. And I remember distinctly in the first edition, Player's Handbook, and was probably in the DM's Guide, is that they actually had a chart of racial relations. So humans and elves, to dwarves, to halflings, to gnomes, to orcs, to the typical player character races. That would be racism. The humans, the elves' animosity towards the dwarves and contested lands and trade embargoes and whatever else. That's racism. What we have going on here, my son, V, there is only one human race. If we were separate races, it would take a lot of work for the genes to work, kind of like a half Klingon in Star Trek, for example. It has been done. It just requires some intervention on the medical side to make it work. So this whole topic to me is just an incredible waste of time. And from what I understand, 4th and 5th edition, things go faster. It's more like a game than it is leading up to. In my opinion, 3.5 was the best version of D&D that was out there. Just go back and, like I said, go back and take your pick of which version of Dungeons & Dragons you like the most. 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. And drop this crap. And that's all I gotta say.
Okay. Yeah, I've while you've all been doing this, yeah, it's just it is absolutely ridiculous. I really don't have anything more to say. By the way, while I've all been looking, yeah, I'm serious. I cannot find the record button anywhere on my Skype channel anymore. Yeah, I don't know where it went. Rearson, where did you locate it? Rearson?
Yeah, sorry, I don't know what the hell was going on there. I was going to say, you can't find the button. Dun, dun, dun. Anyway, no, it's the usual spot on the bottom left corner for me.
And he is recording the call right now, anyways, along with RBN, presumably. So
Yeah. Okay. Well, no, it's weird. I've looked on 3 different servers on Skype, and I cannot find the record button anywhere on my on any of them. It's bizarre. But anyway, that's something for me to work on later. Anyway, let's move on to the next topic. Could I get a timestamp, please, Rearson? Oh, thank you very much. That was quick. Okay. Now, I think some of you are going to almost start laughing about this because this is so pathetically transparent by YouTube that it literally it reeks of desperation. Like it literally reeks of desperation. YouTube now no longer, and sometime next month, is going to no longer allow links to their content on the low bar that don't share or don't have pre-approved terms of services that are similar to YouTube's. Yeah, I wish I was joking about that.
okay, so what the translation? What does that mean exactly? What are we looking at?
That means that if you want to post up a link to, say, Rumble on your channel, on your YouTube video, you can't do it. If you want to post up a link to BitChute or Odyssey on your YouTube channel, you won't be able to do it. If you want to post up a link to, say, Minds or MeWe or any of the non-established alt tech channels, there is a very good chance that those links will not be allowed. Now, it's become, and I haven't actually didn't make it an official topic, but Rumble has kind of emerged from the pack as a legit rival to YouTube. And of course, YouTube, I mean, it used to be that Rumble was just a place, Rumble and Odyssey and BitChute were just the places that people who had been kicked off YouTube have been going to. But that's not the case anymore. Like you're getting individuals like I'm not necessarily vouch, but you're definitely getting people who are far left that are starting to find their way on to Odyssey and BitChute. Well, not so much BitChute, but Odyssey and Rumble for sure. You're definitely starting to see an uptick in leftist insanity on, say, MeWe. You know, like it's no longer like they're the alt tech channels. I mean, even Gab to a certain degree, you're also starting to see that. And I mean, I was telling people this about Gab for a couple of years now, man. If you don't like the content there, if you don't like, and what V was talking about, he was talking about actual far right white supremacists on Gab. He wasn't kidding, right? Like there are people on Gab that I've had to block because I mean, it's just like their content and the stuff that they talk about from the far right perspective is as bad as anything that you're seeing on the left. but you're seeing more of it. Here's the thing, you know, it's not a coincidence that YouTube chose to do this less than a month after people started openly declaring that Rumble has become a viable alternative, and Odyssey will probably be getting there soon, as will BitChute, that have become viable alternatives, right? Like Rumble, you're seeing streams in the hundred, like you're starting to see large size streams in particular, and this is something that I think we can in particular thank Crowder for. Crowder had 300,000 people on his Rumble stream the night he was covering the midterms.
Russell Brand has recently been talking a lot about Rumble too, so he's been a big help.
So there's definitely, so you're starting to see a
Tim
lot
Pool.
of Tim Pool, etc. Well, I mean, like you're starting to see these people. Like
people love freedom, don't they?
Yep.
Isn't it amazing how much the humans love freedom and voting with their computer mice?
Yep. So they're basically dumping YouTube, and what they've been doing up till now is that, and this is something that in particular Sam Tripoli is famous for doing this. He only posts up like a very shortened version of his content on YouTube because he's been censored so badly. And what he does is that he posts up full content, like the full live stream, either to his webpage or onto Rumble, BitChute, and Odyssey. And apparently, I'm not guessing. This is not a coincidence. I think what YouTube is trying to do is they're desperately trying to prevent people from leaving YouTube and going over to these other channels. It's too little, too late now. People know it's specifically about Rumble, but to a lesser degree, both Odyssey and BitChute as well. But I mean, this is an attempt, basically, by YouTube to attempt to slow down the growth of these alt tech channels to a certain degree by basically saying, oh well, they violate, those channels violate our terms of service, therefore you're not allowed to post up links from those particular websites in the low bar, right? That's effectively what I mean. The only other excuse that I could think of is that YouTube has gotten incredibly insecure because they're losing viewership, at least in the West, at an astronomically fast rate, because they've literally become so censorious. In fact, like I say, I was just talking tonight, my YouTube channel got taken down this week again, right? I had 8 whole subs. Now, there's only 2 possibilities. Now, I'm leaning more towards given the fact that it was generally happening around the same time each month, that there's one person who had been making a concerted effort to try and find my content and report it. But, the whole thing, it's either that or it's just basically corporate gamesmanship and YouTube attempting to preserve its market share. And with that, I am going to turn it over. Oh, is Henrik gone? Henrik's gone. So I'm going to turn it over to Jaffe.
I really don't know how much I've actually got to add to things here, other than, for clarification's sake, you use the term low bar twice. Are you talking like the show description end of things?
Yeah, that's called the low bar. Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, if that's the case, I don't know, because we have links to all kinds of different sites in the low bar. What are they? Patreon? Subscribe Star, Teespring, Twitter. Maybe they don't. Maybe Twitter they're going to have a problem with now that Elon Musk is at the helm. They're going to come up with a reason why you can't add your Twitter link. It's absurd and ridiculous. So, well, it's, if that's what they want to do, they're just shooting themselves in the foot. Even worse is what it's. I will predict is it'll help, it'll contribute to even worsening their image and reputation. I know that I'm, I'm not going to speak too kindly of what we're going to see coming our way here shortly, as for what you've just what you presented here. It's the first I've heard of it. So, and that's about the extent of it. Like, I just kind of jumping in there just briefly earlier, just to repeat and reiterate that people love freedom, at least in the West. Here in Asia, it's more conformity and a case of where people, they love conformity, so that if you can seize control over and assert your dominance with respect to dictating and persuading, convincing the population, largely through media and education, which really is, call it education indoctrination, or ultimately brainwashing, of course. But if you can persuade and convince people of what the predominant view is, that really helps to go a long way here with the hegemony and of things. And that people in Asia, typically, they don't like freedom so much as they really just don't want to stand out from the crowd or be seen as anything different from what the group is doing, what the group believes. So ignorance is bliss. I was just reflecting upon this today on my way to had an earlier morning gig, and ignorance is bliss, but also more so with respect to Korea, ignorance is strength. Unfortunately, very Orwellian. The level of cognitive dissonance when it comes to a whole host of issues. The COVID, the scamdemic in particular, the corona apocalypse, and just not wanting to know. So I guess the question really is, looking at the demographics, the people that use YouTube and how it's going to impact live streaming, and also just people that are uploading content in general. So, but as I predict that they're going to just end up screwing themselves even more. So we'll see. I don't like YouTube at all. They lost me in my confidence and support for them in any way whatsoever a number of years ago, and it's just been getting increasingly worse. They've not. It's just endless, as you talk about often, Naroki, the doubling down, and I don't know if it's like a race to the bottom or what have you exactly, but it's like they could care less, frankly. And it's a must be, the agenda as it is. So, and well, there's a lot of people that really just don't care though as well too. Even though in the West, freedom is a big deal, that there's all too many people, unfortunately, who would rather allow big brother or sister or whoever the case is to, the nanny state, I guess, to govern over them and run their lives entirely, rather than to be able to freely choose and decide for themselves, lead a more autonomous styled, independent life. So very disappointing on the part of YouTube once again. So that's about it, I guess. Very sad.
Yep. V.
Okay, so yeah. So here's what's going on. From my perspective, since this is the kind of things that I do, so I have my free speech social network, TLBTalk.com. I've had to become acquainted with a lot of this behind the scenes stuff. So here we have, I'll give you an example. So with Facebook, Facebook has already been hit with a lawsuit that stops where they have been prohibiting links to competing companies because they're trying to hold a monopoly, which is of course illegal, and it's been found out them stopping information being shared about other companies is also illegal. They've been hit with a lawsuit. I think we're going to get on that trail as well at tlbtalk.com because they're stopping any of our advertisements. Anybody post tlbtalk.com, it's taken down. We even actually made a page and then paid for that page so that it can be shared. It can be shared, however, just no photo. There's just the clickable thumbnail doesn't show up. It will be a bare just line every time, bare URL every time. So they're doing their best to censor us. I've literally gotten to the point where I've had to, do the bare URL, but add in my own image of
That's right.
TLB Talk logo.
Yeah.
And it's just to be able to get past that. And come to find, when we pay for the page and for the links to go out, well, they're all bot clicks. And nobody has seen the page. So that's another thing that they're going to be in trouble for here very soon. And so when it comes to YouTube, this is the kind of stuff we're studying too, because in about a year or so, till we talk, we're gonna be a video platform as well. So right now it's fine. You can upload videos, that kind of stuff right now, smaller videos. But I'm actually going to Austin here very soon, and I'm going to be gathering partners that are going to help create that part of the website. That's going to be a full video platform. I mean, super chat and everything. It's going to be a partner program. So, I mean, we're going to skip advertisements and to have people tell us what we can and can't put up. It's going to be membership paid channels, in which, of course, you make your own money back through super chat. I mean, you can literally just start up your own TV network, your own channel with us, basically, and make money. You don't have to worry about a partnership program as far as advertisements are concerned. You don't have to have 1,000 subscribers. YouTube puts you through hoops before they'll give you a dime. Nope. Not with us. And so they're seeing that there are business models coming out, and there are previous business models that are getting people to hop off of YouTube onto other places. The only reason why the people are still on YouTube is because people are making money. They have major influencers who have YouTube channels. I myself, I'm going to be my PR person, track down each and every one of these people, and we're going to offer them a partnership channel with us, and where they'll be free to say what they want to say. I mean, a small cost of a membership, but having a huge audience with super chat, and they're going to say what they want to say. They're going to drop YouTube like a stone, like a heavy brick. So, and this is something that they're afraid of. They're definitely afraid of. It's been my goal to kill Facebook and to kill YouTube for a long time. I'm making great strides. But and so something, and you got to know the system, you got to work it. I seen this coming from a mile away years ago. So all my videos have my links hard coded into the videos. People have gotten real lazy about that kind of stuff. People used to do that. You know, hard code your links into the videos. That's why YouTube came up with the, when you have to describe the channel and do, you got to click the options. You got to say what your channel's about, what it's going to have. Is it going to have advertisements in it? Are you going to get paid from somewhere else? And they need that information to keep you out of the algorithm, essentially. So they want you to rat on yourself. But I of course know that and didn't give them any of that information. But yeah, hard code your links into the show, into your video. Eventually, they might come up with an AI program to spot these sort of things. But that's going to be hard. That's going to be one of those things that are really, really hard to do, and it's going to be extremely, extremely expensive. So that's why they're just going to try to nip it in the bud by not having people share the links in the description of their shows. They've already made it to where you can't even put a link of any .coms in the comment sections. They stopped that years ago. So this is one of those things people are going to have to adapt. Hard code your whatever .coms into your video. And yeah.
Just to get a quick addendum or something to cap that off, and yeah, thank you for that, V. But adding to things once again, and something that's really struck me as quite peculiar throughout the years is how so-called social media, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, until Musk took over, of course, so clearly what they, we were led to believe that it's all about information sharing and social networking, but they're and usually they're often quite sneaky about it, but they're throwing up endless roadblocks, or with the algorithms, of course, and then the shadow banning. There's all kinds of measures, all kinds of steps that are taken to impede the ability for people to share information and freely make connections, to socially network, and so on and so forth. So, yeah, I don't know if you'd say it's counterintuitive, or the way that it's set up is it's regressive. Once again, it's very much regressive, in far from being optimal to where things could be, and maybe with V, as he's talking about here, pursuing this independent, this social media startup and project. Something along the lines of Minds or what have you, to which I should add, Facebook, I don't know how many are aware of this, but Facebook was blocking their links for around a year or so, or more. You could not add any Minds.com links to Facebook whatsoever. Now you can. It's interesting. Now they're allowing it, which is, I wonder what that's all about.
They've been hit with lawsuit. Tilby Talk is not a startup or a project. It's a full-fledged company. We are a full-fledged social network. And
did you hear about California getting sued as well? So did you hear about that recent lawsuit with Tim Pool, Minds.com, and others? They're suing California.
Well, California is very restrictive. They're having all kinds of social and legal experiments over in California, which is another reason why I don't live there anymore. I'm glad I got out when I did. Unfortunately, I am going to have to, I'm going to have to be careful, because when I go on my tour, My tour literally starts in California, where I'm picking up RV I just bought. So I literally have to roll through there. I do have some people in Los Angeles I have to see, a lot of big connections, but a lot of these connections, a lot of these people are moving to where I'm going, Austin, Texas. A lot of people podcasting, movie making. Everybody's moving over to Austin. I mean, it's amazing. I've got some people who have literally offered to give me their studio when they're done making. They got a few movies they're making. They're going to give me their $100,000 studio in San Antonio, and they got another one in Austin. So I'm going to be freaking expanding.
Excellent.
To what we can do, and I wouldn't be able to do it in California. I wouldn't.
Yeah, 11th most populous city in America, 4th largest in Texas. I was just looking this up the other day. The Minds.com conference was held there just this past weekend as well. So definitely encourage everyone to check that out wherever they can track down the various panel presentations that were put together. It's pretty interesting.
Well, mine's I think has some either weak security in their site, or they have some kind of undercovers working there, because anytime I made an account on Minds and advertised my stuff, I literally, my accounts were just shut down. Like, passwords don't work anymore. And I've created maybe like 12, 15 of them.
That's incredible. That is incredible. Huh.
Yeah. I don't even have to add this description, write anything. I just share a link to the show. And of course, I had a lot of federal whistleblowers on at the time, ex federal agents. But shut down instantly. So, and that's the thing about these networks. FBI, CIA, they got somebody in the staff, in the security staff, they got somebody that's infiltrated these social networks. I can say for a fact, happy to say, Tilby Talk has no feds in it. All right, we don't have an algorithm that shows whoever that we want to show, and we don't even collect data. Besides your email, that's all we got.
Is it open sourced, your code?
Well,
or proprietary?
That I'm not going to say. But
wow, okay,
it's
not open source.
It's good stuff. It's already a script that has been built upon. I literally have employees I pay that run the site and develop new parts of everything. I mean, we have. You're not going to find Gab, because it's Gab, for example. It's so, again, it's so infected. It's so riddled with the white supremacy. Google does not want to touch them, nor does Apple. We have the app. We have Google Play Store app and the Apple Store app as well. Free download, so you can use it on any device that you got. We're there already. So these things, and I hope YouTube doesn't actually get so crazy as to. I think it's going to get to the point where if you have something on your device, something else is not going to work. The technocracy is going to get bad. I'm telling you, it's going to get that way.
That's right.
If you have, if you, YouTube's not going to work for you if you have this Rumble app on your phone. So it's literally going to get to that point, but we're preparing for all of that. We are preparing. I know TikTok got taken down.
And look where things are
by
with this Restrict Act right now. Like
the Restrict Act.
It's incredible, mind blowing, and it's making VPNs illegal.
which I hope that these VPN services, bring these suckers to court and sue them, because that's going to be a battle.
Well,
there's too many VPN companies making good money.
any congressperson who votes or for the TikTok restrict Achtung baby, really, people need to take note of that and have them voted out next round of elections, because it's just it's off the charts. Like it's just mind-boggling what they're plotting. Because it's a Trojan horse. On the surface of things, and it's maybe this is a little off topic, I guess. I don't know, Naroki, what your thoughts are exactly, but it's can we just, because I don't know, has this been discussed to this point at all? I don't think today it has. Have you touched on the whole TikTok Trojan horse?
Oh yeah, we had it on a previous show.
Okay, all right, fine, enough said. So people can do their own legwork and research into the whole thing, but with the information that I've come across and has been presented to anyone that's looked into it, it's like, what the hell are they? What's going on here? Like, this is not good. It's like the electronic internet version of the Unpatriot Act, and that's just another example of how we need to reprogram ourselves with the language that we use. Just why people refer to it. Is anything patriotic at all? I have no idea. This is very unpatriotic. Period. We have to be very clear. Get that.
Well, I call it the dark ages of technology, because we have a technocracy right now that's subverting the will and the freedom of the people.
That's right.
And that is why we need to continuously do what we can to fight back. And I tend to play two wars. I'll play the game by the rules, and I'll play the games with my rules.
Mm-hmm. 21st century feudalism is what a lot of other, in conjunction with what you've just laid out there, the whole technocratic social engineering type agenda. So that's working together hand in glove.
All about. But as long as, like I said, as long as people are willing to have an alternative, I wish people go back to having community meetings. You have community board, everybody read, this sort of thing. I wish people, would go back to doing a lot of that instead of getting all their information on social media. But that'd probably be attacked too. You need a permit to place that there, to post that there. I don't know. But anyways, I want to pass it on to Pearson here. I'm done.
Okay. Well, as it's already been said tonight, this is really no big surprise. Again, we'll be going into Star Wars soon enough, but again, I keep hearing in the back of my mind, the more you tighten your grip, Tarkin, blah, 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 blah. It's the same thing going on here. I'm using YouTube right now for a few things. Latest events on Star Wars, if I'm trying to get myself to go to sleep and listen to certain frequencies, or have the predominant of certain frequencies in the audio. Although now that I think about it, I might as well just find the audio clips that I like and rip it right off of YouTube and be done with it. That's what it's going to come down to for me. And in terms of the likely, and I don't think it's too far from the truth, the likely conflict of apps and whatnot, I think I'm going to be looking at keeping my phone, and once I can find Android alternatives like Graphene OS or whatever else that's out there, I'm probably going to give my phone I'm going to give Google the boot and get them out of my my devices. I've noticed certain things have shown up again when I'm on Facebook, not very much, and it's topics of conversation that I've had recently enough. So, mind you, I had a lot less stress when I was using just a simple talk and text flip phone. It was absolutely wonderful, and there was nothing around me. I didn't have social media. I didn't have Android. I didn't have Facebook listening in, at least on that phone and that device. And it was wonderful. So, yeah, this really is a progression of, I can't say progression of power, but it's certainly a progression of tyranny. And this is, in all likelihood, everything that's related to deep state, dark, big government, whatever the case may be, working through proxy with... No, sorry, I'm going to take that back. This is YouTube turning into basically the Ministry of Truth to go with the 1984 novel sort of comparison. So that's really all I'm going to say on this one. Big shocker. So there we go. You're okay?
All right. Well, the good news is that I have managed to find the record button. However, it does not appear on Windows. It does not appear on Google. It will only appear on Opera and AVG and all of the other ones. Strange.
Are you using Skype through a browser?
Yeah, I'm using Skype through a browser.
Why?
Because I haven't thought of anything else. By the way, Steve, did you post up the time? Because it didn't show up.
Well, you do know Skype is its own program, right? You can have it separate from the browser?
No, I didn't actually, but thank you very much for letting me know. But anyway,
crap.
let's...
I'm sorry. That actually explains a lot, actually. Yeah, get the app itself. Yeah, there you go.
Well, I mean, I have the app for the phone.
No, on Windows. Actually, what operating system do you have? Windows 10?
Yeah, Windows 10.
Okay, so go to the Play Store or the Windows Store and just download it. It's free. You don't have to do anything.
All right, well, we'll do that after the show then. Anyway, needless to say, it doesn't show up on Chrome, but it does show up on Opera. It shows up on AVG. It shows up on DuckDuckGo, but it won't come up on Google Chrome.
Which is kind of weird because the only two official browsers to use Skype through is Chrome and Internet Explorer.
Interesting.
That's weird.
It is kind of weird, but anyway, I will figure it out. I will just use it separately here. Anyway, let's get on to the next topic. And oh my God, yes, we are now into the Hollywood section of the. Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, you can go. We're done. We're finished the Hollywood section now. So yeah, you can take off. So the first one.
Well, hold on. It says let's tease the audience. Hey, catch the rest of this show on Naroki's platforms there. This is all the time we have for the simulcast with RPN. So thank you guys for listening in. It's been another episode of the Red Pill Hardcore Radio Show. I'll be your host, V. And remember, in the land of surveillance, the man with the third eye is king. So educate yourselves. All right, there you go.
Okay, well, while we're doing that, by the way, I have just finished. Well, I mean, it's processing right now. RPN is going up at on RPN 304 is going up at YouTube. It's going to be a private. It's going to be an unlisted site. Well, actually, maybe not, because I mean I have it down as RPN, and I'm not going to be posting the YouTube link anywhere. I will give you guys the YouTube link. Because you know, you can subscribe, but I mean basically I'm going to limit the ability of whoever this person is, and it's very clear that it's about control with them. It's not about it's not about dislike or any type of moral superiority. It's about control with this individual. So, anyway, yeah, I'm posting up the YouTube link in the low bar. Yeah, 304 is currently finishing is processing at the moment. Thank you very much, Jaffe, for coming by. If you want to stick around, that's great. But we're going to go into the we're gonna go into the Hollywood section here. So yeah, if you want to leave, go right ahead. So we're gonna start out with the fact that, unlike the MCU, which finally got rid of their, and again, it was a woke female that was running the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and they'd lost billions. That's billions. That's aliens with a B at Marvel over very poor decisions. They've taken the Marvel comic book and they moved them out of what were some very posh offices onto the Disney studios, and then they had to remove them from Disney studios because they couldn't afford, they weren't making enough money, the comic books were, to justify the amount of staff or space that they were taking up at Disney studios. So they moved back out onto the streets of LA, and apparently they're down to just one floor on one building. Like, that's how far Marvel Comics has fallen. Now, the whole situation here is like Star Wars hasn't lost the same amount of money in the last few years, but that is because, one, they've had Filoni and Favreau make some decent television content. The Mandalorian, The Bad Batch, they've actually had some decent television content, which has kind of propped them up. Like, they haven't, because of Filoni's presence, right? Like, Disney has remained, at least on the television side, has remained somewhat viable. But, and this is no word of a lie, they're probably going to be going into shooting for this movie during the summer this year or the fall this year. They are doing another trilogy for Star Wars, and it is going to star Rey. Right? They're not going to go back. They're not going to go back, like as was speculated. And they weren't going to bring back Thrawn. They weren't going to time travel. They weren't going to do any of that stuff. They weren't going to try to go back and do what they should have done from the very start, which was start with the Thrawn trilogy and moved forward with all of the Del Rey books. And then maybe they could have potentially set up another movie franchise to do the Del Rey books afterwards, and then do another. So basically what on paper should have happened is that they should have just gone with the books picked, because there's enough literature in the books that they would have had movies for decades, and they could have helped, they could have mutually scratched Del Rey's back. You know, yes, they would have had to pay certain authors, like say Timothy Zahn, a healthy amount of money in order to secure the rights to do the movie, but the movies would have been considerably better. And of course, if Disney was concerned about some, like, for instance, the Yuuzhan Vong, for instance, is not something that I think the Disney Corporation would have been overly comfortable with. They could have put some type of legal distance or restructured the Star Wars studios so that there wasn't a direct link there, right? But no, they didn't want to do that. No, despite the fact that Kathleen Kennedy has almost killed the entire Star Wars franchise, they brought her. Oh, Henrik, welcome aboard. They brought Kathleen Kennedy back. They're going to bring Ray back. They're going to bring all of the cast back. And they are going to do another movie. To quote Computing Forever, why would they do this? People keep commenting is because, well, the movies keep making money. Well, I mean, look at what happened with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You keep putting out woke crap content. People are going to stop going to the movies. And by the way, this is not just endemic to Star Wars. This is endemic to the entire cinematic world. For instance, both Black Adam and Shazam have lost hundreds of millions of dollars. I posted up the losses for Dungeons and Dragons, and Dungeons and Dragons in of itself was not a bad movie. It wasn't, right? But it's currently sitting at $197 million loss. And a lot of it is because people are just getting sick of woke content. And yet, as a pure and direct definition of insanity, they just keep doing the same thing over and over and over and over again and expecting different results. And much like how BlackRock and Vanguard have tried to prop up Bud Light to make it look like it's not doing as badly as it appears. I mean, here's the issue, and I have gone into this before. What we have got in Hollywood right now, to a great degree, is we've got addicts and insane people running the show down there. And they will continue to do the same insane thing and continue to get the same results until people do one of two things. They say, no, we're not going to do this, or B, they go off, and this is both of these are starting to happen, but more the latter, or B, people are leaving Hollywood, and because you're able to do this now, they're able to go out and make their own content, which, by the way, is a big part of the reason why I brought up this YouTube thing. Like, for instance, like, I'm uploading 304 right now, and there is a red square around my low bar right now. So I'm wondering if I'm going to actually be able to post up this content with the links in it. So yeah, lesson was not learned. They're not going to get rid of Kathleen Kennedy until she has literally done the same thing that the CEO over at Marvel Studios was doing, and literally run the ship right into the ground. Right? Disney, in particular Vanguard, which seems to be the entertainment faction of BlackRock, BlackRock and Vanguard do not have an unlimited amount of money. And because they keep putting woke executives in positions of power who keep making bad decisions, aka Bud Light and what they've done recently, and Nike, and Jack Daniels, and Disney, and, right? These companies just keep losing their base. And they have to go to Big Daddy government and the media to help prop them up. And that is only going to last for so long before it starts to fail. And that's where I'm at. And with that, I am going to turn it over to Henrik.
Hey, sorry for dropping out there. Going through time zones is not fun, especially when your mama's trying to call you. Where are you? I don't know, somewhere between Central, Eastern, Mountain. Tell me, Ma. I don't know. About as lost as Star Wars is right now. God, yeah. Kathleen and the Cup Crew. Yeah, I've seen Nerdrotics breakdown of the series, and I was like, oh, I need a six-pack. And I went to the fridge. There was no six-pack, and I'm like, all right, guess we're going to the store. We're getting a six-pack. Came out with two, you know. And I'm glad I did because, good Lord. Literally, it's like I'm saying, you know, Larry Finken, they seem to be what's propping them and all these other people up. They're at this point, if they're not getting their money from the rest of us, so they don't care. They're literally going to be just like the whole meeting, all this stuff is going to be like, yeah, China. They're going to be literally selling something to nobody,
Almighty,
and they're going to make no money, and they're not going to care about it.
For he is worthy. For he is worthy. For he is worthy. Let all creation sing praises. Let all creation give praise. Holy, holy, holy. Holy, holy, holy. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty, who was and is to come. For he is our King. For he is our King.
For
he is our King. Let all creation sing praises. Let all creation give praise. Holy, holy, holy.
Mike, is that you?
Holy, holy.
Okay.
Sorry, that was Mike. I just muted him.
Okay. I think because after my show we have a religious program. I think he may have, I don't know, bumped into something and
yeah. Okay, continue, Henrik.
So sorry about that.
That's all right. I mean, in a sense, he's actually kind of on cue with what I was going, you know, because you know the thing about communism, they make the government God, you know, and, you know, let's see, who's throwing around the money up here at this point, you know, since it's all Federal Reserve notes and it's bupkis anyways. Larry Fink. Oh, what does Larry Fink own? Larry Fink owns BlackRock. BlackRock owns your anus. And it seeks to sovereign the anus. Yes. Oh, no. And it's going to do it unconsensually with Star Wars, the woke force. Because it's going to be so godforsakenly crazy. It's going to be such godforsaken garbage at this point that they're just literally, they're going to make it so, okay, they're going to just be living off of this dude's money until he eventually goes broke, or wherever else he's getting his money from, they go broke, and that, or it's just literally going to be empty theaters, empty TV shows. You know, no one's going to watch this stuff, but they're not going to care because, like, well, you know, we're subsidized by Larry Fink Incorporated. All right, you know, it's fine. You know, there's going to be like all the theaters and stuff like that. There's just going to be nobody in there. It's going to be dead, absolutely empty. Because Kathleen and the crew are just going to be going around just making the most salad-fisting psychosis you can imagine and just cram it into Star Wars or anything else that they can get a freaking ID for. Because it's you know, they're not getting our money, so that's good for us. But they're getting, you know, Mr. Fink's money, so that's, well, that does suck to be us. But, hey, you got to watch it. What I'm thinking is, if it literally gets to the point to where they're so reliant upon the teeth of Fink, you know, but hey, I got no need for you. Whenever Star Wars winds up having public stock, or maybe they already do have public stock, or some crap like that, Wait until they absolutely tank, because they're so reliant on Fink's money that, hey, it's like something like, the GameStop situation. Where it's like, hey, so, Mr. Fink, do you like gambling, buddy? Because, shoot, if their entire fiscal everything goes into the crapper, and their stocks and everything is penniless and worthless, and I know this sounds a little bit insane, but hear me out on it. Buy it up. Buy as much of it as you can afford without breaking your bank. Get a handful of your buddies in on it. Don't do some type of Ponzi scheme. Make sure that you're doing this legally by the book. And then, once all you guys have enough stock, just start sending letters to these guys and go, hey, I'm stock owner, ADHD. I'm stock owner. Your name isn't that. And go, I formally request you bow to me because I own the stock, and you're going to change this garbage. I don't care how much you're enjoying your Frank Inc. subsidies. I own your stock. You're going to listen to me. Because we can muscle them out of their garbage forcibly. But it's going to be one of those things to where it's going to be a fiscal war of titans, where it's going to be us versus Fink. And if gradually over time we can wind up actually breaking the influence of Mr. Fink, then I think we can actually make Star Wars great again. Plain and simple. But until then, good luck finding anything on the TV or the YouTube or whatever your telescreen device is going to be, because boy, oh boy, you're not going to find very much that's going to be Sodom-free entertainment. It's just going to be Sodom-me entertainment. And, that's my take on it.
Okay, yeah, go ahead, Pearson. You can remove him. Yeah, he obviously.
Yeah.
I don't get. Even though I'm an atheist, I really don't get offended when somebody posts up religious content or is religious. But yeah, that was going a little bit too far. He should have been paying a little bit more attention. But it happens, right?
Well, Mike, sometimes after work, that's automated. After work, he's doing a lot of stuff, so he may have just accidentally, like I said, bumped into something, clicked on some board switch, something. So it wasn't.
Anyway, guys,
malicious.
just a heads up here too. I have posted up, and yeah, I am limiting this just to friends. My content is for now public. If I get another strike on this, then I will just delete the content, and I will just use that YouTube channel strictly for viewing, or I will unlist the content so that I can upload it elsewhere. But I won't. But I'm not going to. Lose another YouTube channel. But yeah, my YouTube channel is. I did post it in the sidebar.
Yeah, we
yeah.
can see it.
Yeah. So V, have you already had your roll? Take a kick at this?
No, I haven't.
Okay, your turn.
So I don't know. I'm actually quite. Tell you the truth, I'm kind of just done with the whole Star Wars thing at all. I used to, when the Wikipedia first came into existence online. Good God, I used to read that thing like every day, article after article after article. I didn't need to read any of the books because there were so many articles that described everything. There's so much of the Star Wars universe that's in my head that I know about that it's totally obscure to anybody else, even somebody who would call themselves a hardcore fan. But I think I'm completely done with anything cinematic. Mandalorian's good, but anything else, I'm pretty much done because it's as long as it's in Disney's hands, it's not going to do anything good. And it's not going to go the direction that it needs to go. I don't even think Lucas himself, based on the canon material and the legacy or legendary material, which is non-canon now, it didn't do very much justice. I mean, the only way I'm going to get back into Star Wars if it gets grim dark. Because if you read the actual source material, Star Wars is pretty grim dark. I mean, all the Jedi powers, I'm sorry, the Sith powers, being able to stare at somebody till with the intent of hate till they start boiling in their own skin and catch fire, to ripping someone's soul out of their body and placing it into a clone's body and have them murdered and doing it over and over and over again. I mean, this is the kind of stuff I want to see. Disney's not going to fill that need. So I'm pretty much done with Disney until maybe the IP can go into the hands of somebody who's capable of doing it justice. I mean, at this point, I'll even say GW should buy it, should take it. And that says a lot. I don't want GW owning anything, but it's Disney. It's just they're not going to do any justice to it. I don't. It's lost to me. I mean, that's all I have to say about it. It's completely lost to me until something can be done with it that does it justice. Anyways, Rusin.
Oh, okay. Here it is. By the way, 304 has been posted up. Yes, all of the links. The YouTube algorithm now does not allow you to post up links in the low bar anymore. No word of a lie. Continue, Rearson.
Continue. I'm just going to finally get started. Well, funny enough, the whole thing that we were talking about with YouTube earlier, it's really the only one of the few things I'm actually using to keep on top of what's going on with Star Wars. Now, Mandalorian Season 3 has been all right. Unfortunately, that fading, leathery-looking, red-headed feminist cunt has her fingerprints, or her pussy prints, as being executive director after Filoni and Favreau. Now, the only person I've seen that seems to be putting anything out about this right now seems to be Mike Zero, and he is giving indications that Kennedy is, and I said this on Jaffe's show yesterday as well, Kennedy's on her last legs. Apparently, can't confirm it, but apparently her fate rests on Indiana Jones 5 being successful both in the box office and fan reviews. I'm hoping that he's right. I'm hoping that this is 100% fucking true, because if there's anything that we need to hear now for any kind of good news, that's at the top of my freaking list. Now, apparently there is only now going to be one trilogy series, and that's going to be the continuation with Filoni's work and Favreau. Good night. For the Grand Admiral Thrawn trilogy. Now, again, right now I'm running on hopium on all of this, because something's got to give, because the dumb shit that they're doing right now cannot continue. It just can't. But apparently Bob Iger has conceded defeat and realized that, well, as the saying supposedly goes, when it comes to business, the customer is always right. And in this case, the customer has been right. Again, I have not spent one freaking dime out of my pocket to go to the theater to watch their crap. The pedophile organization has gotten enough money from me for Disney Plus. That's bloody hell. That's been enough so far. And I've watched the Kenobi 6-part series, and it was lacking. Like, it was just not good enough. I mean, Deborah Chow was the producer and really pushed the gynocentric whole theme to it. I'll describe it best as, no pun intended. My feeling about it is that, at best, is that it's lukewarm. Like, I won't froth at the mouth over it. I certainly won't watch it again. It wasn't bad. It kind of needed to be filled in. And it was good to have Hayden Christensen come back and reprise the role of Vader specifically. Although they really should have spent some time to de-age both of them and make them look younger than one fight scene when they're on Naboo or Alderaan. I can't remember where it was. Anyway. But if what I have listened to over the last few days, and this is after the announcement, is true, and I hope it is, I am conditionally happy as a pig in shit. Because the fans are going to get what they want. Like, I can... The problem with the sequels is that they didn't have a vision. Like, they didn't have all 3 films planned out in advance. No, George Lucas is a control freak, and I totally get where he's coming from just because of how he knew what he wanted. And yeah, the prequels were infinitely better than the sequels, Jar Jar Binks included, but that's another story. And the only thing that Kennedy can really focus on now is to try to make The Acolyte. And The Acolyte's not going to be a movie. It's now going to be a series. I think it's going to be... Kennedy announced that there was going to be a 3-part movie series with Daisy Ridley as Rey, set 15 years later, and she's going to try to rebuild the Jedi Order. And again,
I'm cringing, by the way.
As far as I'm concerned, cringe away, man. I'm not worried. Like, anything that has to do with the new shit, anything that has Kathleen Kennedy fucking pussy print that's on it, I'm only touching it if I have to. Only if I have to. Not that I would touch that with a 10-foot schlong. That would be quadruple wrapped, but that's another story. But as I said, I have voted with my dollars. And I'm only giving them cash for stuff that is good. Or I deem to be good. It's things that Rearson approves of. There was some good filler content on Disney Plus of Count Dooku and Ahsoka Tano. They got 8 episodes, I think it is what it was. Tales of the Jedi. I recommend to watch it. Like, it really is good. And you see Dooku go from being an adherent of the of the Jedi Order to when he finally turns over. And it gives a little bit of filler as to why that there was also a certain member of the Jedi Council from the first movie that's missing in the second movie. And the whole reference of Camino missing and whatever else. So it was written well enough to fill in a number of holes. So I'm cautiously optimistic. The woman has single-handedly, I don't know if she would consider herself to be a cultural Marxist, but she pretty much is. The Force is female. No, it ain't, bitch. The Force is just there. It's like God. Both and not at the same time, but whatever. I'm spending enough of my spare time looking into, and I want to get a group of role players for the Fantasy Flight system, and I want to incorporate a 10-part campaign from the previous D20 series, D20 edition. If we're going to go back, I guess I'll circle back a little bit to the whole Dungeons and Dragons reference.
Fantasy Flight?
Yep. Well, they're the latest one. They started off with Edge of the Empire, and that is set as basically non-Force users. Typically, the game starts off a couple of months after the first Death Star is destroyed, but you can scale it back, and they've got some supplements for the Fall of the Old Republic, the Rise of the Empire, or the Separatists, whatever else. I mean, there is stuff that is there as well. And they have a supplement for the setting overall for Rebels. So, like the Ghost, the protagonist ship, a VCX 1000, whatever the hell it is, the Ghost. So they've got the stats for all of that as well too.
You're doing this physically, or is this going to be like something over Skype?
I prefer to do this in person, but I'm probably going to have to resort to. I'll have to figure this all out and basically I'll have to have like multiple angle cameras or something like that, or incorporate my phone into it or something.
Well, I'm down if you're going to do it by Skype.
I guess I'll have to. I'll have to definitely look into it. And the whole thing would begin with the introductory game, and then once the game is completed, if you keep the pre-generated character as it is, I can give you like 15 extra XP points. If you want to change the gender, you want to change the race, or you want to change up the class or subclass, you lose 5 points for each alteration. But that's what's going through my head lately, as a way to figure all of that shit out. Typically, that would be on a weekend, probably on a Saturday or Sunday. I don't know. There's a lot going through my head at this point right now as to how I want to do this, but I'll definitely keep you abreast of that. But as I was saying, and there will be no fucking Force Awakens shit, because I have not incorporated that crap into it all. Not happening. But, but again, I mean, and I'm going to use this as a comparison to what Kennedy has said herself before, is that, well, there's no content. There's nothing there. No, there's plenty there. It's just that it isn't the content you want for your cunt-centric universe, for what you need. I mean, I don't think that she was underneath. I don't think she was kneeling and bobbing to make George a happier guy. I can't see him being like that. I don't know where she has this feminist bent, but fuck, whatever. Like, whatever floats her boat, or whatever the case may not be. I don't know. But I've grabbed as much content as I can from the D6 universe, the West End game stuff, which is all 6-sided dice related. And there's one module that has been converted over, and that is specifically with Age of Rebellion. I'm not going to say what it is. If you do your research, you'll see it enough for yourself. But there is a lot of stuff that's available, and hey, Kathy, if you listen to me on this one, with some hard work and creativity, you can make it fit into what you want. But she doesn't have the capability. She has no capacity for being able to handle that kind of shit. Which is fine. That's her problem, not ours. But, yeah. As I said, I am conditionally optimistic, and I am happy to wait and see how this all rolls out. And if it doesn't go in the way that I want, well, you know what? My spending habits at the theater aren't going to fucking change. Not one bit. So on that note, unless anybody else has anything else to add.
Well, yeah, actually, and just to go along with what I was saying earlier, Star Wars not being done in a manner of uh, damn ambulance, in a manner that it should be underneath Disney. Netflix has a series. I think it's like 6 or 8 episodes where independent people did their own rendition of Star Wars. It was awesome. I honestly think Star Wars can thrive underneath anybody other than Disney. So, yeah, you might want to check that out. This Netflix series. I don't know what it's called. You have to look it up. But it was great.
Okay, are we done with this topic?
Yep.
All right. I will, oh, Jesus. Oh, we totally forgot about the timestamp on that one. Oops. Okay, give me the timestamp on the next one.
Okay, I just timestamped it now.
Okay. Yeah, don't worry. I can go back and fix that. I have to, this, and it is going to be a topic for 306. The Elon Musk just removed the dead naming ban off of Twitter, which is going, and that is going to be a topic for the next. That is going to be a topic for 306. And yes, I can absolutely confirm that there are no longer any links allowed in the low bar. So yeah, that's it. So let's get on with the next topic. Now, we covered Leo DiCaprio less, I believe it was only like a couple months ago, because feminists and middle-aged women were getting all their panties in a knot because, good God, golly gee, a rich, powerful male with lots of time, energy, and resources somehow who finds women in their late teens. And by the way, I'm going to emphasize this because they were actually trying to suggest that Leo DiCaprio was sleeping with a woman that wasn't legal. She was legal. She was 19. Let me emphasize this for you, and I don't really care if there's any guys out there who think that that this is wrong. 19 is we're no longer on your show, are we, V? No, we're not.
No, we're not simulcasting. No.
Okay, 19 is fucking legal.
Yeah.
Deal with it, you pathetic weasels. Men find younger women in general attractive. Men do not have to consent or get your permission to date women that are in their late teens and early 20s. They are legal women. They are free to make their own decisions. Fucking deal with it. Sorry if I'm getting a little angry about this one, but I mean, this is something that's been discussed for a while in the manosphere now.
Who's getting upset about a 19? Who?
Feminists and progressive males, and the mainstream media to a great extent. So here, let me just finish before you jump in, before anybody else jumps in, okay? Because I got to get this off my chest about this particular issue. The whole concept of the midlife crisis is also something that has been developed by women to shame men into dating women that are closer to their age, because these women in general cannot compete with women that are 10, 15, 20 years younger than them. I have met some very attractive 40-year-olds, but and I've even met some attractive 50-year-olds and even the occasional 60-year-olds. Yes, and fertile to boot, and they don't have the baggage. The issue is is that it's not really any of their business, right? It's not. Uh, you know, like this is an attempt to, and of course, like I mean, and this is one of these myths that that feminism has brought out in the last few decades, to the point where it's almost like it was established like decades ago about guys who were dating younger women are suffering from a midlife crisis. Yet at the same time, you have Cher and Madonna dating men that are 30, 40 years younger than they are and not even raising a peep. But I digress on this. This particular issue is about the fact that either via pressure, oh, Henrik left again, of either via pressure or via either or DiCaprio stepped forward. DiCaprio was forced or voluntarily went over and testified against a guy named Fugees Pras Michel, who was apparently funding Democrat candidates in the last election, and were more like literally, and I believe the word that because Leo was not actually participating in this as himself, but he was there. In his own words, he was literally seeing bags of money being used as political contributions. Less than a day after Leo DiCaprio testified, and by the way, he did not participate in this. He is just simply a material witness, right? All he's doing is going in and giving the who, what, when, where, why, and how. Like doesn't have any particular malice towards Fugees Pras Michel or any of the other individuals who are contributing towards Democratic candidates. I mean, he's just doing this either out of civic duty or because he was forced to. But apparently he was not participating in this himself. Less than 24 hours after he testified in this about these political contributions at this trial, several media outlets ran stories about Leo DiCaprio engaging in sexual harassment against women. This is likely not a coincidence. And again, right, Leo DiCaprio, although I don't think he's MGTOW, he has definitely got the financial resources to be his own man and has continued to act like his own man, even though, I mean, I have found stuff that Leo DiCaprio has done from time to time to be somewhat objectionable, and I like his acting. He's like Tom Cruise. I like his acting. I like Brad Pitt's acting. I like Leo DiCaprio's performances. All three of those individuals are as people. Oh, and Robert Downey Jr. All four of those actors as people have really serious drawbacks that cause me to not like them personally. You can for instance, I'm kind of shocked to say this. I like, for instance, the guy who's saying we're not going to take it. D. Snyder.
D. Snyder.
I like his music, right? His politics, I can't freaking stand. There's a number of artists who have done stuff. A lot of musicians who have done stuff that I can't stand, but I like their music. I even like some of Michael Jackson's music still, right? Even though I happen to think he's guilty of sin in terms of wanting to sleep with kids, right? Here's the thing, and this is again, I mean, because we talked about this earlier. This is the reason why YouTube no longer allows links, because if YouTube allowed links, then people like, I mean, it's like it would be it's much harder now for people to uncover the truth about some of the stuff that YouTube's putting out, and it also makes it harder for alt content creators like myself. And again, I have posted up the link to my channel in the chat tonight, and like, subscribe, but I'm not gonna promote it. I'm only putting that channel up for friends, right? And so that I can download at Odyssey and a couple of other places a whole lot easier than I already do. The whole thing is, like the whole thing is just corrupt as hell. Am I surprised that this happened to Leo DiCaprio? No. Am I glad that there is an alt media out there now that can catch this stuff as it's happening to Leo DiCaprio, as it's happening to male celebrities now? So when feminists get their jimmies in and out because Leo DiCaprio has decided that he prefers dating women between the ages of 18 and 25, and these older entitled women who think that they're somehow entitled to men their age, even though they're not, but somehow get pissed off when they think that men should be entitled to their bodies. By the way, that sword cuts both ways. No, right? So let's just say that society in general hates independent, free-thinking men, and they're starting to see more and more and more of them. Which is why we have had, for instance, where we had topic number 3 tonight. Did we do topic number 3?
What was it again?
FBI officials have now marked terms like Chad Red Pill. Nope. No, we didn't do that, so we're going to have to do that next. Ooh, okay. Yeah, we're going to have to do that one next. Sorry. Do you guys remember discussing that topic? No, we didn't. So we're going to have to go back and do that topic. Yeah, sorry. So we did actually have.
Can we finish this one off?
Yeah, we can. We'll finish this one off first. So yeah, the whole situation with Leo DiCaprio is that, yeah, this was a smear campaign, and this was a smear campaign because what Leo DiCaprio was testifying under was politically and culturally sensitive information, and Leo has this particular blind spot or vulnerability in the fact that he likes younger women, and he has a bit of a reputation as a playboy, and that was what they used to smear him in this particular case. So yeah, that covers that, and I'm going to turn it over to V now.
Okay, well, I mean, we have a man, and this is, I'm looking at right now is just it's a coincidence. I'm sorry, I'm just baffled. It may or may not be a coincidence. I'm looking at memes about, there just happen to be in the timeline. I'm scrolling down. I've seen so many memes about rich, powerful men and how many women they have supposedly assaulted. I mean, it's just men gravitate. Okay, let me even back up even further. Listen, the woman's vagina is what runs the world. It's what makes the world go round. Okay, that's the truth. Women don't understand that they're destroying themselves, for one. Vagina is what makes the world go round. I wouldn't go out and have get a nice car if I didn't think it would get me laid. I wouldn't have I wouldn't do what I do if I didn't have a lot of fangirls. Hell, I'm still with my first fangirl. I wouldn't do. There's just so much a man does in the pursuit of vagina. Now, if you take that away, what are we going to have? Well, we won't have some great Leonardo DiCaprio movies, right? Because what's the motivation? We wouldn't have a lot of great things in society. We wouldn't have progress if it weren't for a man's desire for a woman. It's not even that deep. We only need the woman. Just give us the vagina and the boobs. We don't want to hear you talk. No, I'm not saying that me personally.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Not me personally. Men. When I say we, I mean men. we don't want to hear you talk. We don't necessarily need the social interaction. Period. For a man, we like the triple S. Silence, sandwich, sex. Okay, let's just can't. I can't. I'm just being real. I'm not even speaking from my chair. I'm speaking for men.
I know.
For men here. Okay, it's just. I mean, who cares if he likes a young girl? That's fine. Do you know I get offered arranged marriages sometimes? I get offered girls that are turning 18. I get offered house, studio. Here's my daughter. I get offered that at least like twice a year. Now, if it's something that, I mean, I'm not speaking for myself, which is why I can say this. I mean, if I were that power mad, if I were that superficial, yes, I would have taken these things, at least one of these offers. Okay, but I'm doing my own thing. I don't. I'm to the point. To tell you the truth, I'm to the point where I'm looking towards the future where we have robots, fully automated. No, I don't need the AI. I don't need a Bluetooth connection. just something I don't. I'm too introverted. I talk too much. I have to talk to people. I do media. I have to talk. When I have anybody else outside of a show come and even to move their lips at me, I start getting a headache. So it's like, oh, this is coming off so bad. This is coming off bad. It's. If I were Leonardo DiCaprio, in response to all this, I would have hired a pregnant woman to be my maid. She could only wear an apron and be barefoot in the kitchen. If I were him, and I'd share pictures of it all across my social media and say, what? Grabbing my testicles, saying what? What's going to happen? This movie career is going to end? The guy's worth like $500 million. He's got money. He's got FU money. He can start his own movie studio, do his own stuff, and make as much money as he wants. He can do anything he wants, and he can. As a rich person, you can double, triple, quadruple your money in almost infinite amount of ways. He doesn't need us in our opinions. He doesn't need the left, the right, the manosphere, the feminist. He doesn't need any of us. He doesn't need it. But the fact that these feminists are trying to tear him down, I would double down. Like, yeah, I got a list of girls who are 17 right now. They each have a different birthday where they turn 18 every day of this year. I'm going to get with all of them. I would do that just to say, F you, feminists. And what can they do about it? Nothing. Nothing. Dare you try to do something. I'll have some pit bull lawyers eat you alive. Anyways, I probably, I'm off the chain right now. I'll pass it on to Mearson.
Well, in regards to all of this, I can't help but think that he basically, DiCaprio, he's gotten Weinstein. I mean, you couldn't touch the man with a 10-foot fucking pole. And have an arc thrower or a lightning bolt that could come out of that and hit him even 10 feet after that. He was untouchable. Democrat Party is, well, the paid off part of the Democrat Party. Is heavily in bed with Hollywood, with the people that are pulling the strings, with the rhinos and the D's, and pushing all of this socialism shit and whatever else that's being fed to us through media. And my honest feeling is that, actually, I've got a question to ask here. I don't really remember DiCaprio really being... No, I take that back. I was going to say, I don't remember DiCaprio really being terribly political, at least not on Twitter. I mean, there was that meme about him flying out on his private jet and spewing out how much CO2 and whatever else for emissions for an environmental award or whatever it was. It's like, isn't that just fucking ironic? So, with all of this, I mean, we've already said it tonight already as it is. 20% of Hasbro was controlled by Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street in that order. And if they don't like what you're doing, they're going to pull some kind of crap on you. And you're either going to comply or you will, at best, you're going to be looking for a new line of work. I've got a feeling that DiCaprio was given a choice. And he was probably the least compromised male celebrity in Hollywood that they could go after that was well enough connected to all of this shit. I mean, I'm going to go back a little bit more in time here, but I mean, look, Seth Rich, I mean, he was, quote, mugged, 2 shots in the back, but his wallet was still there, but he was an insider for the DNC, and my opinion is that he helped send out a lot of information to WikiLeaks. So we're talking about the political apparatus that is endemic? Is that the right word? It's part of the whole freaking problem with what's wrong in the world right now. And I don't think... No, that's just my opinion. Is that this... Nancy Pelosi put it, this wrap-up smear tactic that they use is just to try to distract, because if the plebs start listening to Leo, what's going to happen? And so that's just my take. Like I said, my take on this one was that he was given a choice, and this was the best of the available options. So I'm hoping that this is going to be the beginning stages of a genuine takedown of Hollywood and all of the crap that goes on with all of that. So, and speaking of federal interference, I think we need to move on to the skipped over topic. So, Roki, if you can unmute yourself.
Could I get a timestamp, please? Okay, so the next topic, and I mean, I don't know how the hell we missed this topic earlier, but it's now topic number 5. It was topic number 3. The FBI has, in their infinite wisdom, and they've already had this up in Canada for a while, which kind of makes me think that I was like, I mean, for instance, right after the U.S. elections, I had my backup Facebook channel deleted, and then I had, even though I had no violations or restrictions on that actual Facebook channel, that Facebook channel got deleted for very strange reasons. Of course, we have all figured out now that the FBI had a pipeline into Twitter. It probably also had a pipeline into both Google and Facebook. To give you an idea of how deep the line in Twitter ran, the day Elon Musk showed up at Twitter with that sync, one of the individuals that was found to be working at Twitter was none other than Biden's former press secretary, Jen Psaki. Just thought I'd throw that out there so you could all know, all knew about that one. The FBI, the CSIS had labeled red pill content, which, by the way, is probably one of the reasons why Pierre Poilievre got discovered when he posted up MGTOW in his hashtag in his feed. Because the manosphere has grown, and to give you an idea, the manosphere hit some very, in fact, there's even guys in the manosphere that don't quite fully grasp how, like, for instance, there's some snarky asshole at one of the groups that I run on Facebook that somehow seems to think that the fact that MGTOW, and this was true 11 years ago, Facebook, MGTOW, at the start of 2013 had fewer than 3,000 members worldwide. Fewer than 3,000. Current membership is in excess of 1 million. It is in every single country on the planet, or there is a version of, like, for instance, in China, you have what's called the lying flat man. It is in, like, literally every country on the planet. The manosphere has gone from being a little insignificant rump with a couple of 100,000 members, mostly confined to the West, to the point where they're having to do stuff now like troll, like literally come out with, and this is no word of a lie, blue pill dating coaches to serve as a counter to guys like, say, Rollo Tomasi and Fresh and Fit, Donovan Sharp, etc., and Andrew Tate, etc., etc., etc. Right? Each one of those guys, by the way, has their own particular style and approach. And Andrew Tate and Kevin Samuels, by the way, who, despite all of the fanfare that's being delivered to Andrew Tate, Kevin Samuels was the biggest content, was the most viewed Manosphere content producer out there on YouTube, not Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate was the most well-known Manosphere content producer outside of the Manosphere, but he wasn't the biggest Manosphere content producer. How big has the Manosphere gotten? And this is the one part that really gets me about this. Kevin Samuels died somewhat over a year ago. And even though he's a corpse, he is now bigger than the biggest bread tuber. When he died, he was slightly smaller than ContraPoints by about 80,000 subs. He has surpassed ContraPoints as he has more followers and more adherents to his YouTube channel than ContraPoints. And by the way, the bread tubers were the ones that were actively going around and trying to portray the Manosphere as being this fringe group that will never get any traction or never get any play, and that will never get bigger. And yet here we have guys like Kevin Samuels, and probably within the year or at some point next year, Fresh and Fit is also going to become bigger than ContraPoints. So we've got the point where the most ardent critics on YouTube about the Manosphere now and we're trying to portray the Manosphere as being culturally insignificant. Now, and this is on YouTube, by the way, the platform that most heavily censors the Manosphere. They now have, the Manosphere content producers now have larger followings than the critics that were claiming that they were insignificant. Right? You have a continuous line of individuals in both the press and the media actively trying to pump out anti-Manosphere content now, and full-on active attempts to try to silence the Manosphere in whatever form it's going to take, which, by the way, includes the arrest of Andrew Tate, whom, by the way, is not a perfect human being by any stretch of the imagination, but it's becoming very clear as it goes on that he was being set up, as was Jordan Peterson, by the way. You're seeing various factions grow. You're seeing the point where the Manosphere is now going to reach a critical mass in the next 12 to 18 months, where it's going to start to become the schools in certain countries, in certain states now, have actively got feminists that go out to these schools to try to counterman the effects of the red pill and the Manosphere to the young boys attending these schools. So, given what's gone on, and yes, by the way, to give you an idea, if you had, say, to put it in different terms, if you had invested $1,000 in MGTOW stock, suppose MGTOW was a stock, and you invested $1,000 in MGTOW stock back at the start of 2013, the value of that stock would now be somewhere between $150,000 and $200,000. Now, you can get pessimistic about that. You can get angry about that. You can say that 2 + 2 = 5 about that. Here's the bottom line. The Manosphere has reached the point where it is starting to become culturally, financially, and very, very soon politically viable as an option, as a force. That has both good and bad attached to it. Chief among those factions, and to give you an idea of even at absolute lowball growth, the number of guys that are estimated to be in the manosphere by the end of this decade is going to be somewhere between 10 and 15 million, which is going to be around the same size that feminism currently is at the moment. You know, a good solid portion of those guys are going to be MGTOW, so don't deceive yourself. Like this group that I'm involved in, you know, it's going to morph and it's going to change. It's going to, for both the good and the bad, but the fact that the FBI has become so desperate that they are listing off manosphere content like Red Pill, MGTOW, Chad, Stacy, basically all of the terms that were listed as manosphere content are now considered extremist content. The reason why is because the manosphere has reached the point collectively where it's going to start to challenge the status quo. Now, when I mention this stuff, in particular with the MGTOW community, which is the community that I belong to, there is no leaders. There are no leaders in the MGTOW community. You cannot. You could take every single MGTOW content producer out there and throw them in jail, and you wouldn't make a dent in this, because the reason why MGTOW is growing, I mean, it was literally doubling in size every year until 2021, and then it kind of, even then, it may have slowed down in the West, but it started exploding everywhere. Like if you tap in a country's name with the term MGTOW after it, you will find a listing on Google about it. If you type red pill in almost any country in the world, you will also find articles about them. You know, like there's Hikikomori in Japan and whatever. Bottom line is that what's going on here is that the FBI and certain people in government have finally started to figure out that they cannot just simply ignore the manosphere anymore. It's becoming too influential. Too many men are finding out about it. And in particular, when we're talking about MGTOW here, we're talking about potentially tens of thousands of men basically opting out to not support the system anymore. To quote Hammerhand, why would a guy choose to support a system that openly discriminates and hates him? And I have yet to hear a conservative, I don't even bother discussing with them, but I have yet to hear one of these so-called mainstream conservatives actually address that point in any specific detail. They will touch on it, but they won't actually fully embrace what's going on. And because they won't fully embrace what's going on, what's going to happen is, and by the way, this is not, I'm going to point this out. I mean, like, you're not going to be able to stop MGTOW. You might be able to take all the PUA content creators offline. You might be able to throw content producers in jail or silence them. But the concepts are out there now, right? It's worldwide. It's global. So what are they gonna do about it? Well, now they're at that point. Well, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they attack you, then they win. Well, now they're getting to the attack point, because certain individuals inside government have, and DDJ has covered this, Child Protective Services, family law, various insurance agencies, universities, law offices. Like, there's a whole legal system which is designed to be discriminatory against men. That's a legal system. That system is going to start to collapse under its own weight once men start to realize what's going on. Once networks start forming and men are able to go off the grid and actually live and be happy off the grid, which, by the way, is my intention. So the fact that the FBI has decided to mark manosphere content as extremist, it's their own creation. The government and society, there's nothing extremist about a guy figuring out that the system is stacked against him and either wanting to play the rules to his advantage, attempting to reform those rules, or just basically doing what I do and just say, fuck it, and just do the absolute minimum and not care whether society continues to exist or not. It is going to have an impact, and that's what this thing is about. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to V, and sorry for taking so long at this.
All I have to say is, you guys keep proving my point. I said the stuff from the very beginning of my show, the very beginning of my appearances on your show. How the feds have infiltrated certain institutions and are trying to control the narrative. You keep on proving me right. With every time you come up with one of these articles, one of these stories, you keep proving me right. I don't have much to say on it because, you're just proving me right. So we can keep moving forward. So go ahead, Rusin.
I guess that awkward moment of silence is over to me. Okay. Well, as we've talked about before and hinted at already tonight, with the level of infiltration of FBI assets and working for Twitter, this really is no surprise. I mean, I don't see it being, honestly, any different than it's really no different than anything else that we've talked about in the past. Sorry. I know what I wanted to say, and I just got myself a little bit derailed. I mean, this really is a case of government overreach, Ministry of Truth, the forces at play that are doing their best to control YouTube and every other approved platform, social media or otherwise. And again, I'll have to use that layer to grab them off target. Tighten your grip, blah, 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 blah. This is just absolutely ridiculous. But I am of the opinion that these are things that have to be done now with all of the chaos that's going on, or rather, shall we say, the bringing light into the darkness as to how fucked up society really is right now at this point. Things are going to get better, in my opinion, but we have to go through these phases or stages for the members of our audience that are listening to this, people that listen to these show and with similar content. I don't want to sound a little bit elitist, but we're ahead of the curve, and I'm somewhat ahead of the curve only because of my ongoing interactions and with V and being on this show, Jaffe show, whoever. And I will not say that by any stretch of the imagination am I some sort of expert on this whole thing, because I'm not. but I'm aware of what is going on. And I think that things like this are only going to be the beginning of the extent and ultimately the awakening that society will have to go through. I think that the marriage rates are going to have to plunge into the negatives. Well, no, can't go negative, but my manager and I were talking, and she's great. Like, she really is, honestly. I'm quite loyal to this woman. She understands me. And we were talking about my son. And she told me this, is that the best bit of advice that I can give him, and I want him to sit down and talk with her about this as well. What it comes down to is, don't fall into the trap of going after a female. Focus on your schooling or career, your own development, and then later on, then you can go after her. Then find a girl that'll work for you. You know, I wish I had this from my father, but sadly it didn't happen. So in a sense, I suppose that I'll be contributing to this surveillance with the deep state to wake my boy up to other things that are certainly much more worth pursuing. And if you have to be labeled as one of those things, well, then you get labeled. It's not that bad. So sadly, this is, as I said, this is really not that surprising. If I guess really it is. It was only a matter of time until this was going to happen. So here we are. And on that note, I'll leave that alone. And I will timestamp. And Rook, you get yourself ready here.
You have to get ready because you're starting on this particular topic, because this one's your baby. At least this first topic is your baby. The one about the Trudeau Foundation quitting?
Yeah, that is a case of holy fuck. Okay. A couple things one or two things about the Trudeau Foundation that I've got issues with. The year that Justin Castro came into power, thanks to the likes of George Soros and whomever else. Oh, and the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP. That's what this basically boils down to, is that the foundation is in the beginning stages of being accused of cooperating with foreign powers to muck up, or to provide a better outcome in a national election and provincial, I'm sure, of that matter as well too. Now, and this thought, not that hole over there, but this actual thought popped into my head, and that a year or two before, Stephen Harper, who was the Prime Minister at the time prior to Justine, he basically gave away Canada's sovereignty to what would be favorable as to what the Chinese would like, or would like, to what the Chinese want or don't want to do. So if the foundation is going to be investigated for that, then I'm sorry, but Harper has got to be absolutely grilled as to why he signed us over to Beijing. Now, I do have a terminate with extreme prejudice feeling towards the Trudeau Foundation, because, and Hiroki, I still remember that you were absolutely shocked with that boy lover symbol, pedophile symbol, on the 2015-2016 prospectus. So, on the surface, I think that this will be the interference of China with Canada's election, but I won't be the least bit surprised if that fans out, or if that will expand out into pedophile rings, the satanic pedophile rings. And it was also in that year as well, too, that Canada, well, Trudeau, Castro, whatever you want to fucking call him, he made a point to contribute, or to make a big, quite a hefty donation to the Clinton Foundation as well. So there's additional interference in one form or another. So, interesting times that we're going to be living in here. Now, what the problem has come out to now, and the Globe and Mail, one of the media outlets that's been paid off by Trudeau, has run basically a story. I didn't look into it too much, but has looked into Chinese interference in the 2015, the 2019, and the 2021 elections. And I don't... This is going to be a sleeping topic for most people, my father especially, because I don't think he's aware of this. Well, I'd be surprised if he was, or he didn't think much of it. Now, he would probably be in the boat of, well, I don't like the Conservatives, so as long as whoever gets in is not, party A, B, C, or D, the one I hate the most or dislike the most, it's okay. And it's like, no, this is not, that's not cool. I'd have to ask him, would you prefer for Hillary Clinton to win the U.S. election by cheating, or by Donald Trump winning honestly? And he won't be able to give me an answer, because he'd want to have Clinton win honestly and Trump to cheat, which, in my opinion, was never the case. So I'm not going to talk to him too much about these sorts of things, because the level of cognitive dissonance he'll be going through, it will be a very uncomfortable conversation. And at this point, I don't need to go there, and I'm not going to go there, because it really will be a waste of my time. Federal Resource Minister threatened to nationalize Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba's resources. Okay. Did either of you two want to comment on A, and then we can go to B?
Okay, I will comment on B. I just wanted you to. We'll just finish off A first. Yeah, I was actually floored when I saw that. I also pointed out at the time that selection of a symbol could be coincidence. The only problem is that, once is a coincidence, but when you start seeing that symbol pop up both directly and indirectly in multiple places, which, by the way, is what happened with Balenciaga. Once that whole thing, I will be straight up with you. When I used to see these individuals posting up about how this artist and this artist were satanic, and their evidence was really real. Some of their evidence was really, really flimsy. Like a musician or an actor photographing with one eye covered could signify a lot of things. An actor or a musician wearing certain costumes and so on and so forth could represent a lot of things. But between what happened with Mayfair and what happened with Balenciaga, and seeing all of these hidden messages and seeing all of these things going on, and it's sort of like it goes from being a coincidence, or I won't lie to you. Like, I used to tell these guys, like, seriously, go out and get a fucking life, right? Like, they're not all. And by the way, not every actor, and not every major studio head, and not every person that works in Hollywood is a Satanist pedophile. Far from it. Here's the thing, enough people do believe in it, and I mean, I've seen enough stuff with what Sam Smith is doing, and I mean, my personal, is that just Sam Smith playing a brand like Marilyn Manson to shock people, or is this legitimately how he feels? I suspect that Sam Smith is not going to live as long as, say, oh my God, I can't remember his name. The guy who's saying Marilyn Manson. He's not as healthy as Marilyn Manson. He looks like he engages in a lot of debauchery. And I mean, he again, right? That could all just be a coincidence. The only problem is that I've seen so many coincidences now that, like, it stops being a coincidence anymore. That whole thing with Balenciaga just kind of blew it up, right? Like, it was really difficult, which, by the way, is why the press is bending over backwards to ignore the issue altogether, right? But I mean, you take a look at that sort of stuff, and you look at what's going on with the Trudeau Foundation, and I mean, again, right? Like, you're seeing the two parties that happen to have members that are basically Soros Stooges, which is the NDP and the Liberals, consistently and on a regular basis do the same sorts of things. That they support the trans community. They endorse transgender story time. They will try to sneak critical race theory into schools and disguise it as something else. They encourage hostility to the police. The guy who I was working with today, has a law enforcement background. And one of the reasons he told me that he left working in corrections is because of the general overall hostility towards law enforcement, among other things. He gave up a pension, like he was a member of a union, and he walked away from that. So yeah, when you have Jagmeet Singh and Pierre Trudeau and the Deputy Prime Minister all being Soros stooges, and you're seeing, like, I mean, for instance, Jagmeet Singh, and this would have made perfect sense from my political point of view. Jagmeet Singh would have been perfectly within his rights, and it would have made political sense to call a snap election, to go and declare a non-confidence vote against Trudeau. He was perfectly situated to do that over a year ago during the trucker convoy. Instead, he chose to back Trudeau to the hilt, and has consistently backed Trudeau to the hilt. Coincidence? He is a member of the Soros Young Leaders community, or as what I was just looking it up here, the Young Global Leaders Forum. Same thing with Michelle Rempel Garner. I mean, yeah, she talks a good game, but when you actually start peeling away the layer, she openly endorsed the lies or the misrepresentation that was coming out of the Kamloops school. And by the way, they still have not done an autopsy on any of those graves at the Kamloops school, so they cannot, with any conclusiveness, say that those are Native kids buried there. But they act like they do. I mean, regardless of what you say about Poilievre, at least Pierre Poilievre is making an active attempt of making sure that the young global leaders do not dominate the Conservative Party, right? That is the one that, I mean, say whatever else, and yes, Rierson has actually spoken to the guy, and yeah, probably an elitist prick. Actually, everything about him suggests that he's an elitist prick, but at least he's an elitist prick that seems to be aware of the young global leaders and is making certain that those particular individuals do not dominate the Conservative Party of Canada. You know, by no means am I a conservative, but that has to be pointed out. So, yes, the fact that all of the board members of the Trudeau Foundation all resigned when it looks like the sharks are starting to circle the water with Trudeau, that's not a surprise. Not a surprise at all. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to V. And with that,
Actually,
I'm going to
I have actually sorry, but I have to skip out on this one. I've got something that's come up, but I definitely look forward to next time, guys. Thank you for having me on.
All right. So then let's just take this last topic out here. Okay, so the last topic on tonight's show, or actually 6B, was the Federal Resources Minister threatening the Western provinces with nationalization of resources. A statement that nobody within the cabinet of Ottawa has spoken out against. Something that something that they used because a tribal chief or a hereditary chief and not the tribal council said something about environmental exploitation in Western Canada, which, by the way, if they're going to try to nationalize it, would be exactly the reason why they would do it. They would potentially try to manufacture a serious environmental incident in Western Canada, and they would go, "Yeah, no, we can't trust the provinces to manage this, so we're going to take it away from them." I could almost see. In fact, I'm not almost see. It wouldn't surprise me at all if something exactly like that happened. This is a violation of the Constitution, but given the fact that Trudeau is a Soros puppet, and all of the cabinet ministers are also Soros puppets, like, for instance, the new Minister of Culture literally tweeted that what Elon Musk did is an attack against Canadian culture. Never mind the fact that his party allocated, and this is something that none of these people ever want to answer or address, the fact that CBC gets the lion's share of its funding from the government and is therefore government funded, and that Trudeau promised a $600 million effective bribe to the mainstream media, which the mainstream media doesn't ever want to cover or admit, and is a very ugly fact about the government that it's kind of hard and sticky for the proponents of what happened with CBC to work their way around. You know, it's not a surprise that Trudeau with Bill C-11 is attempting to try to take some control of the alt media and try to focus everything on the mainstream media, because it's really hard to get your message out when you have lagging support in everything that the mainstream media. And this is what I said back when they had the 600 million. I mean, they could throw as much money as they want to at these establishments, media places, right? If they keep lying, they're going to keep losing legitimacy. And look at what just happened with CBC, which we're not going to cover on this event. So, am I surprised that the minister would say something to this? And by the way, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba spoke out definitively against what this minister in Ottawa said. which is no surprise. You know, would they attempt to do something like this in an attempt to nationalize the resources of the Western Canada? Yes, they would. This might just be Ottawa, the Soros stooges in Ottawa, loading and cocking the gun to try to get Western Canada in line, which, by the way, is why you're seeing such a big push from the mainstream media in Alberta to try to get Rachel Notley reelected, which isn't going to work, but they're going to try. And with that, Rearson, you can take this topic out, and we're done for tonight.
All right. First thing I am going to say is that Polyev was in the Young Global Leaders. But for whatever reason or another, he has been taken out of its membership. So you can look at that one way or the other. I think that he has capitulated to the benevolent forces, assuming that we're in the spiritual warfare. That's all I'm going to say on that one. It sounds rather vague, and I realize it is. That's just how I'm going to leave that one alone. Let's not forget that Trudeau Sr. did his best to nationalize Alberta's oil patch industry to begin with. I mean, we had Petro-Canada because of him, and that was a crown corporation, and that really is the beginning stages of nationalizing an industry. So the fact that, pardon me for sounding like this, my friend, but from the perspective of Ottawa, that some fucking Indian spoke up, it was, they needed to show who's boss. And again, I've mentioned this before, is that with the overall bad attitude that Alberta specifically, and not too far behind, or at least not far enough behind, Saskatchewan, if there's going to be a breakup of Confederation, it's going to be in Alberta. And it's not that far off. all that it will take is for some idiot in Ottawa to do something like, not just to say this, but to actually do it. And then I think that's when it's going to come down to that, there'll be growing resentment and whatever else that you want to say as to for Alberta's grievances to be maybe addressed. Probably not. I don't know. I really don't know what else to say at this point in regards to this specifically. It's really not all that surprising for me, sadly. But hey, Trudeau does love the basic dictatorship of China and to make changes in their economy on a dime, as per his unscripted question that was asked of him back in 2013. Little did I know of what that means now. But that's fine. That's honestly neither here nor there. So, yeah, all in all, that's really where we are, and that's where things are headed, and I believe that there will be continuing ongoing butting of heads. And if Trudeau and company is stupid enough to try this, it will be interesting, but that I think will be the beginning stages of the breakup of Confederation, which I don't think is a bad thing. I really don't. And I really don't have any more to say on that whole matter, except that, well, that's all I got. So, my friend, I am done.
All right. Well, then that takes us out of tonight's show. I don't know how I missed topic number 3, but we got it in. Yeah, topic number 3 is topic number 5. Thank you very much. Just to give you a quick preview, we already have 3 topics in place for 306. Yeah, Rearson, stick around for a bit. I will give you the updates on what's going on. But yeah, we will be talking about CBC and Twitter next week. We will also be talking about the plummeting sales of Bud Light. The fact that Elon Musk removed the dead naming ban from Twitter. The reason why he did that is because there were certain transgender individuals on Twitter whose previous names they committed acts of I don't give a shit, pedophilia. If YouTube wants to ban me for that, I will gladly lose my channel for that statement. So that's what we've got so far. There will probably be 2 or 3 more topics added in.